Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be reviewing,
The Flash.
latest episode of The Flash, Into the Speed Force. I mean to draw,
We called it last week, didn't we? He's back already.
yeah. I mean to draw parallels, it's pretty much kind of around the same time last season that he kind of tried to get his powers back after he lost them to Zoom and got blasted into the Speed Force, but this was kind of a different experience. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty doofy, like getting him out or whatever, and it did kind of seem rushed. But in the grand scheme of things, it's literally thrown everything off, like stupidly thrown everything off. Because I mean, we'll get into this episode first. So Barry's feelings. I kind of like the direction of it. There was good direction because I mean there was some bits in it that I thought, oh, kind of. I think it was meant to be eerie, and they kind of like the kind of eerie horror stuff they all pulled off, like a kid crying, unnecessarily creaky doors and stuff like that, an emphasis on like, because he was walking down the stairs and it was just like the shot was just him smacking his hand down on the banister, overly loud. I was thinking, oh, that's how you kind of grip the banister, okay then. So yeah, I think there was a kind of lot of like real kind of B-list horror direction going on. So yeah, the kind of episode starts off is like right away, I'm going into the Speed Force. You know what I mean? It's like after getting back. But obviously questions are raised, and HR actually comes up with some kind of genius moment, you know what I mean, with Cisco. I mean, this guy's starting to get better ideas. So in respect of that, do you think that is getting more ideas, is starting to kind of contribute more towards the team? Do you think is going to stay with that personality, or do you think slowly they're just going to phase him into Harrison Wells from Earth 2?
I think, I think they'll probably just bring in another Harrison Wells next year with a new personality. I think maybe that's their thing now. Like, it's a way of having a new character on the show, but immediately you like him.
Yeah, but how are you going to get rid of HR? Because I mean,
kill him.
Yeah, but I don't think they are. I mean, Savitar said himself that he was kind of like not involved with the prophecy. So I mean,
Sure, but he can die anyway. It's an easy do, isn't it? You can kill him and just bring another guy in that's pretty much like him anyway.
Yeah, I don't see why Earth 2 Harrison Wells is so needed on Earth 2.
No, do I?
I mean,
they talked about how Earth 2 needed protection, but to skip ahead, Jesse Quick's gone to Earth 3 and she was the Flash. So Earth 2 apparently hasn't even got a Flash anymore.
I think it's real flaccid reasoning that he has to stay there. So I mean, that's kind of, I mean, flashing backwards, I mean, it's pretty annoying. So yeah, they come up with some interdimensional tether so they can get him out if need be. He goes into the Speed Force, plodding around, bumps into Eddie Thawne first, and the kind of rundown is that he kind of, I think, well, they have an issue with him getting Wally West to save Iris, because that was like his plan. He was going to be like, I'm not fast enough, but Wally seems to be fast enough, we'll train him, we'll get him to save Iris. But they kind of put on the kind of premise that, yo, you need to save her, and kind of take responsibility for his actions. I mean, they kind of waylaid the fact that, the Flashpoint thing, it messed things up, but they were like, look, we're gonna look past that. But I mean, my issue is, if you look over the course of the episode, that the fact that the Flash is the show where, I mean, apart from Wally being sucked into the Speed Force, but I mean, let's be serious, I mean, watching this episode, that's kind of not kind of applicable, but there's never any negative consequences for stupidity.
Oh, don't get me started. I can't believe it. Every Flash, almost every character, but every Flash for certain in this show is stupid.
Except maybe Jay Garrick.
Okay, I'll give you Jay. But Barry makes the same mistakes over and over again, and Wally and Jesse do the same damn thing. Jesse in this episode. The same stupid mistake Wally made last week, and he got trapped.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, if you look at in terms of their powers, there's a kind of immaturity there. I mean, yeah, maybe Jesse Quick should know a little better, but the fact that they're kind of observing this, have seen all this stuff happen, and they're so kind of gung ho to go and run into those kind of situations themselves. I mean, the fact she was so torn apart by the fact that Wally got sucked into the Speed Force after his little cock up, and then she's so willing to go and do pretty much die. I mean, come on.
It's stupid.
I mean,
even in the show, every other character in the show told her it's a stupid thing to do, don't do it. And she punches HR in the face, which apparently we're all, oh yeah, no, that's okay, don't worry about that. And then she runs off and then he gets herself killed and then he gives Savitar something that he wants. But that's stupid.
Well, yeah.
It's not endearing. You can't say, oh, good for her. No.
Yeah, I mean, dumb Wally, as I like to call it, and then genius Jesse, that being totally ironic. But yeah, I mean, she gets herself into that situation. I mean, really, I mean, the kind of pretense that is so dangerous, she kind of expected something to happen to her, but no, it worked out for the best. And I think kind of that's Flash's problem and stuff like that, the actual program, that the characters can go and do these kind of gung-ho, spare of the moment, kind of dumb things, and like, it's fine, it resolves itself, which is kind of fair enough if it's an uplifting show and stuff like that. But like, in any other thing, it's like, if that happened in Arrow, well, maybe these are bad examples, but if it happened on any other show, that person would be dead, and that would be an example. But the thing is, they'd probably end up doing the same thing anyway. So I mean, yeah, it don't punish stupidity, and really it kind of should. Cause
exactly,
I mean,
they'll be dead and held accountable for their actions. Like, they kind of touched on it in the crossover, but really, Barry changed people's lives. Like, he did something he never should have done. They say in they're gonna ignore the Flashpoint thing, let it go. You shouldn't let it go.
yeah, exactly.
That's a ridiculous thing to do. Diggle's got a different kid because of him. Like, things have changed.
You kind of look at it as like the Speed Force is the Guardians, and like the Flash is Green Lantern, that kind of thing. It's kind of that kind of relationship. And if like something like that happened with Green Lantern, it wouldn't be brushed off so badly. But I think the Speed Force kind of is always finding a way to kind of, you know, the kind of rock in the river thing. You throw a rock in the river and it diverts the flow, but eventually it comes back together, the kind of time travel metaphor. So I think really that kind of thing with Flashpoint, the fact it was resolved so quickly, I wouldn't think that they would kind of hold a grudge against it. But I mean, it is very, for them to be like, right, I'm going to grant this guy like power and stuff like that, and for him to kind of pretty much abuse it. I mean, even Leonard Snart said it. It's like, look, you got these powers, and it's like you're constant. You say you're going to do one thing, and then you do something completely different. So I mean,
well, exactly, because the thing. Yeah, we see in Legends that the death thing is chasing Eobard Thawne, right? And granted, Eobard Thawne has killed people, but by rights, he's done almost as bad of things as Eobard Thawne has by changing the timeline like he did. That's a massive violation of his powers. He shouldn't be doing it.
See, it's interesting as well, because really, I mean, if you're going to be stringent and look at it like seriously, everything kind of Barry does is an abuse of power, whether you save people or not. Because if that person's supposed to die and then you run and save them, that's change the timeline right there.
It is, but if you're changing it in that moment, you're there and you can change it. If you're travelling back in time and changing history, that's something different entirely.
I mean, if you look at it...
Like, if he goes back and saves the Waynes, Bruce Wayne never becomes Batman. Like, that's changing history irrevocably. If you stop some guy getting run over in the street in the time that he was there, that's different. You know, you and I could do that.
Yeah, but what if that guy like turns out to be the Joker?
Right, but if you're there in that moment, then that's what it is. You know, if you or I had some hero moment and managed to save some kid from getting run over in the street, maybe that kid was meant to die, but they didn't, so we changed it. There you go. But if we somehow got superpowers and stopped Hitler from coming to power, all history is going to change. It's different.
I hate it when people have powers and go and do that. It's so like, yeah, I get it, but like, you know what I mean. So yeah, he kind of, and then we kind of move on to Caitlin, and they kind of have the kind of her singing like a crazy person, very very eerie, as I said, and Ronnie's kind of shtick is the kind of lives you've changed. I mean, Ronnie flew into the singularity and blew himself up, and then obviously he died, so obviously it robbed um, Ronnie the chance of having, which is dumb anyway, because I mean he can't really stay out of the kind of fishing thing with Stein for that long anyway. So I mean, even if Ronnie didn't die, it's like, would he really have been able to like slip out of being Firestorm and like banged Caitlin and got her to have a kid? It's like,
Also, wasn't that Ronnie's choice anyway? Like, it's not like Barry made that one happen.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it was very kind of, look, actions and consequences kind of thing, as opposed to last time when it was in the Speed Force. So obviously, oh, this was a point as well. Like before, like after he has his chat with Eddie, and then he sends the Wraith after him, and he pulls his thing off, his tether off, and whacks it into the Time Wraith. It's like, I was expecting the Time Wraith to like appear in like Star Labs. I was like, that's a teleport thing to bring him out, and now we slapped it into the Wraith and put, like, why ain't the Wraith pulled out and then back into Star Labs? Like, literally what would have happened to him. I didn't get that. I was literally expecting the Wraith to appear. So yeah, so he kind of gives away his lifeline, bumps into Leonard Snart, where he gives him like a rundown of, look, I was a bad guy, but I became a hero because you inspired me.
I mean, I think that's a bit of a waste, though, isn't it? Like, I know the dude's doing prison break right now, but this is all you bring him back for?
Yeah, but he was good.
I guess,
in this bit, I mean, let's be honest. I thought it is as good as Captain Gold. I like his incarnation of Captain Gold, even though there's only really been him live action. But I mean, I like Wentworth Miller's good in that role, I guess. Because it's interesting, because if you look at Legends, he's a hero, and kind of Mick Rory's kind of become a better guy now. So I mean, that kind of works out that even though there would have been a bit of like strife with the fact you got villains in the team, that's kind of worked itself out. So yeah, and then Jay Garrick appears. So it's like, apparently Cisco, after he gets rid of the device and he thinks like Barry's in trouble, he decides to call Jay Garrick. It's like, yo Jay, run into Speed Force, won't you, mate? It's like, well, whatever. But I mean, obviously he had the thing that he's saved him from Zoom, so I mean he kind of owes him one. But yeah, the kind of retcon thing there is Jay Garrick's gonna stay behind. That's kind of batty writing. I think it would have worked out better if Barry stayed in there and Wally came out. But I mean, yeah, they kind of put this concrete thing down that Barry can't stay in there, he has to save Iris. So I mean, I think it would have worked better. I think he needs to reflect. To be honest, Wally should have stayed in there to reflect, because you know he ain't learnt nothing. You know he's still going to do dumb things. It's like, what's going to happen, you know what I mean? If anything,
I still don't get what the Speed Force needs Barry to save Iris. Why does Speed Force care about
that? I think because Barry's like the chosen one, you know what I mean? His kind of, really the only character who's got his power literally by like destiny, you know what I mean? He was struck by lightning. I mean, of all the different things that could have happened, he happened to be perfect time, perfect place. Really, everyone else is just kind of, I mean, Eobard Thawne with his, that's just tachyon stuff, so he never had the Speed Force. If anything, he kind of stole it. So I mean, I think Barry's like the kind of main focus. That was when they went on a limb out and chose him. So I mean, I think really that it would be better if he did save Iris, because he's meant to be like, come on, the main hero, you know what I mean? You don't want Wally West to be the kind of focus. No offense, I mean,
well, especially not with, let's face it, how bloody annoying he is.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're gonna bring like different speedsters into the show, you can't forget that like Barry Allen's like the main character, you know what I mean? So kind of Wally's forced, his hell's forced to relive the death of his mum. So yeah, whatever. Just to reiterate, Jay goes in there and swaps places. They come out. Interesting now. in terms of theories and stuff like that, I mean, is Jay Garrick going to turn out to be Savitar? Because I think they're trying to be smart.
I don't think it'll be Jay.
I know, but I think maybe not, but I think they're trying to be smart and kind of put people off and stuff like that, because obviously you had Jesse Quick kind of go over and stab Savitar in the neck. I was expecting later on in the episode to see him whip off his helmet and to know, which is normally what the Flash does. They kind of blow their load pretty early, but I mean, for some reason they haven't done it yet, so I was really expecting to see like Savitar.
If you had to put money on it, who do you think it is?
I think it's going to be a real dumb thing, because I mean, to be honest, I don't think it's anyone we've met yet, because he mentioned last episode that like they haven't met yet, and in terms of like the speed thing and stuff like that, I think that in terms of imprisoning him, I think it's going to be that episode where he goes to kill Iris. Barry runs in, saves Iris, and then that's when he's put into this prison, so it'll be revealed in that episode. I don't think there's going to be any lead up, no spoilers, no kind of hints or anything like that. That's going to be the episode.
Right, so just theoretically, if Savitar's still got to be trapped in the Speed Force, right? We haven't seen that yet. We've seen him get out from the future,
but you haven't seen him put in. And
so Jay Garrick obviously is going to get out, because whoever goes in is going to...
Yeah, Savitar's going to go back in, and then Jay's going to come back out. I think it's definitely going to be on the lowdown. You're not going to see it till then. They say that they're kind of, we haven't met yet, so it's like literally going to be someone that they've just met. It's going to be a human. They're going to take the Philosopher's Stone, and then it's going to turn him into that metal thing. It's interesting because while he was kind of in the Speed Force prison, Savitar was untouchable. Now that he's out, you've got like Barry chopping off his hand and kind of going toe to toe with him, right? Last episode, like grappling with him and stuff like that. Yeah, he got slapped up a little bit, but then obviously he chopped the thing off. Then you got Jesse running one-on-one and stabbing him in the neck. It's like they kind of portrayed Savitar as being like untouchable, like really fast, but now he's kind of out of the Speed Force. Now he's more tangible, because while he's in the Speed Force it's CGI, and now you know it's like a guy in a suit of armour, but like he's slowed down quite a lot. He's not as fast as he was like previously, so whether they're kind of doing that so they can go toe to toe with him, I don't know, but really I don't think we've met the guy, and we won't see till then. I think as a consequence of him trying to kill Iris, Barry's going to stop him and is going to create the prison. How he does that, because they keep mentioning that. I mean, the Speed Force even said it, that he created the prison inside the Speed Force to kind of put him in there. It's kind of dark as well, because this is a thought I had, that like they say that Barry's like, right, I've stopped Savitar, now I'm going to put him in the Speed Force, and it's like I'm going to put him in there and trap him in a point like the worst moment of his life, because that's kind of the hell that it is. Wally went in there and saw the worst moment of his life, and you can imagine Jay Garrick's going to be in there too. So I mean, really, for Barry to be like, right, I mean, it's one thing to stick him in the Speed Force, but it's kind of cruel. I mean, even though Savitar's a bad guy, but you got to look at it, it's pretty dark for him to kind of be like, right, I'm putting you in there, but I'm going to trap you in an eternal loop where you're going to experience the worst moment of your life. So I think for Barry Allen, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been yeah, it's a fair point that he's been doing some increasingly selfish things recently. I mean, like, we've talked before, he's always been selfish by doing stupid things like saving his mum, but it's taken a bit of a sinister twist recently. Like the last episode, essentially forcing Julian to twice do something he really didn't want to do, and that only idea. Also, he was pretty much a dick to Wally, although I'm all for that. And then now with the idea that he's going to trap Savitar in hell, you know, most of his enemies he just locks up in a prison.
Yeah, you'd expect it of Oliver Queen if Oliver Queen was the Flash, but for Barry, I mean, they mention that they're kind of Barry's to be held to a higher standard, like not killing Gorilla Grodd and blah blah blah. I mean, they've hinted it for the past episode that Barry's being held to a higher standard. Even Savitar says it. It's like, you're the good guy, you won't kill me, and it's like for him to kind of do that. I mean, it's a little extreme, but I mean, yeah, I guess it's well within his rights. But I mean, as many characters have said, you kind of hold him to a higher regard for him to kind of be the better guy. But it's interesting. Skip to the end now. Yeah, with Jay Garrick being trapped in the Speed Force, Jess has gone to Earth 3. It's not goodbye, it's see you later.
The Earth 3 thing, I don't get it. why is she going to Earth 3?
I know, to protect...
Right, but what about Earth 2? What about Earth?
I guess Harrison Wells is protecting that now. So I mean, yeah, he is kind of integral to being on Earth 2 now for that moment. Yeah, so it's interesting that they said "I love you," both Wally and Jesse. I'm still waiting for the timeline of how long they've been, whatever. But I mean, good for them, I guess. I guess they're a good couple. I mean, they're on screen they're a good couple. It's just a shame they're a bit like dopey.
I don't know. I think he's a bit blah.
I know.
Maybe I don't like Wally. If he was more likable, I might like the relationship. Also, to be honest, I'm glad she's gone though. I've always had that problem. There's too many speedsters. You don't need 3 of them on the show. Barry can have a sidekick, fine, but you don't need 3 of them.
Exactly. So yeah, she goes off to Earth 3, and then you've got kind of, I think, the way I watched it, the first kind of feeling I had about it, that it was very mature of Barry. He sat down with Iris, has kind of admitted that, yeah, I kind of only got engaged with you because, like, to change the timeline. But I think if you look deep, you know that they were going to get engaged anyway. I mean, they've gone through all this stuff, they're probably going to get engaged, and yeah, we rushed it because of that. But I mean, it was very mature, I think, of Barry to be like, look, we need some time apart.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I'll give it 2 weeks. They'll be back together again.
Oh, definitely. Speaking of, like, I mean, looking forward, the kind of, because like last week there was a bit of trepidation there, but now it's kind of Barry's living at Cisco's, Iris is in the flat by herself. The next episode's going to be this sing-song episode. So I guess, in terms of the way the episode ended, everything's kind of been wrapped up for the moment. That I guess it's not, if you're going to throw in a completely pointless episode, which is what it is, I guess it's okay to do it now, because I didn't want it to be on a cliffhanger, then all of a sudden they go sing-song for one episode.
Right, and also it's perfect setup for a musical, isn't it? I'm in love with a girl, but I can't see her or talk to her, blah, blah, blah. You could sing a song about that.
Do you think Wally's going to sing?
Wally?
Yeah. The dad's going to sing, Joe's going to sing.
Yeah, Wally's going to sing about how he's been trapped in hell with his dead mum for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, there is
Joe was saying, yeah, he was in like Rent or something, wasn't he?
Yeah, so yeah, the next episode is a crossover. You will have Supergirl characters. I think I know Supergirl's in there, I know Martian Manhunter's there.
Oh, no.
Wynn's going to be there. I remember seeing a picture of him at a piano, which would be interesting. I don't know whether Mon-El's going to be there. I think he is. I'd expect he is. So, yeah, a sing-song episode. Looking forward, I think my feeling is it's going to be a pointless episode, but maybe that moment that I said earlier about Savitar taking the thing out of his neck, blah blah blah. The problem is it's a crossover, so it's going to be one half there and it's going to be one half in Supergirl. So I'm kind of hoping at the end of the Flash there's going to be that whoosh, and then like 10-second kind of after episode clip and stuff like that. So maybe I'm thinking Savitar's going to feature there. It's going to be a whack pointless episode, but the last like 10 seconds is going to be something interesting to set up, because I mean really, in terms of the timeline, Music Meister getting a record deal, them stopping him, I really don't think there's anything left on the checklist then. So I think maybe they're going to need one episode for Barry to get up to scratch, but then it's going to be the big face-off.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've still got to get... So do you think the finale will be defeating Savitar or seeing the creation of Savitar? I think we've got to see him get created before we see him die.
It's interesting, right? Now I think about it, I think left on the checklist. I don't think there's. I don't know if there's another one, but I know there's Music Meister, and then it's Killer Frost. So whether Caitlyn's going to turn, or whether that was just a general thing and they've kind of waylaid that, but I think there's going to be at least, maybe after this one, there's going to be about 2 episodes, I'd say, before the kind of face-off. Whether the penultimate episode is them stopping Savitar and then the last episode is the creation of Savitar, it's all kind of superfluous. I mean, literally, the season finale is probably gonna. Is it gonna be like a kind of nothing happens? Because I mean, first season finale you had the singularity open. Second season finale you had him run back and do Flashpoint. So do you think this is going to be like the Arrow finale? Everything's wrapped up and then it's just left, or do you think there's going to be a cliffhanger? If so, what's the cliffhanger going to be?
I have no idea. I really don't know.
Because I think it's interesting whether they put Savitar back in the prison or they destroy Savitar.
Because what I was thinking at one point, I don't know if I mentioned this during our review. I always thought Wally would end up trapped in the Speed Force, but I thought that might be in the finale, and then set up is we got to save Wally for season 4. Obviously, that's not the case, so I don't really know where they're going.
Because I think in terms of the timeline, Savitar gets created, he's plopped in the prison, then he escapes. So chronologically now, him escaping, whether that's the one he goes on to kill, the one who kills Iris it's up for debate whether he gets thrown back in the Speed Force, but the guy who takes the Philosopher's Stone ends up getting trapped in the Speed Force. So he's been in the Speed Force, he escapes, and now that guy. So whether they put him back in the prison for the second time or they destroy him, that's the kind of up for debate thing. Really, what's going to happen there? So it's kind of all up in the air. So yeah, that's kind of speculation. Not really much more we can say about that. Any other points we haven't covered?
You notice they had Joe twice say, "I love both my boys." Like, we get it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, we love them both. Like, I get it dropping it once, but you have to say it again.
There was some interesting moments as well with like Iris. She was a little cold and stuff like that, and I was thinking, if I were Barry, I'd just dump her like there and then.
Maybe that'll save her.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but like, I think she was unnecessarily like walled off and stuff like that. But whatever, whether that's just being bitter about the kind of engagement thing, I don't know. But
probably, like I said, she'll cool down in a couple of weeks. They will be fine.
Yeah, let's talk numbers.
Okay, 7. I thought it was alright.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Solid 7.
Yeah.
Nothing outstanding. I guess it was okay. Direction was good, but really, I mean, it would have been higher if we saw a bit of like the results of, is Savitar just going to come back now, and it would just be like, oh, forget about the thing in my neck, I've pulled that out, I've reattached it, forget about it. So I was really kind of hoping that he would have whipped it out and then we would have seen something under the helmet or something, but whatever. Just hoping. With an episode like that, you kind of hope at the end something dramatic could happen, but whatever. So yeah, that's our review. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm Sam.
I'm Matt.
And this has been the Superhero Hub.